course, the crown fight of the entire weekend is going to be Daniel Cormier and John Jones at UFC 200 on Saturday night. Of course, there's been fights Thursday night, Friday night, now Saturday night. It's a great week of fights. It's weird this time. As we break down this, we always break down the main event and co-main event. We're going to break down Lesnar Hunt and, of course, Cormier and Jones. And there's another title fight we're not talking about, and that's Tate and Nunes, because that comes right before Lesnar and Hunt. Lesnar, of course, back to the UFC, was put into the co-main event spot, and would have got the main event spot if there wasn't a championship belt being battled in front. Incredible what this guy draws. Incredible for what this guy can do. As soon as the media got a hold that he was coming to the UFC 200 and going to compete, they had to get immediately a WWE guy hit up. Like, what happened? Is he cut from WWE? Because all the wrestling fans want to know: has he been cut from WWE? Is that why now he's with the UFC? WWE had to come out and go, nope, it's a one-time thing. We let him go for this one thing. It's totally permissible, but he won't be there for very long, which I call BS on. I think if he wins this fight over Hunt, then he's staying put. He's going to try and make another title run. That's just in his nature. If he has the ability to do it, he's going to try and do it and try to do both. Maybe a couple of appearances in WWE throughout the year, and then close shop up and be in training camp for the 8 weeks before a fight. You won't see him until it's fight night. So interesting to see how this works out. People forget Mark Hunt is ranked number 8 right now in the heavyweight division. A cracker of a man on his feet, can knock anybody out in any position. Last time he fought Frank Mir, he barely touched him on top of his head as he came across with that hook and put Mir down. And Mir's no slouch. He is older, but he's no slouch. Lesnar's been out for so long, though. What can he actually bring to the table against a guy like Hunt that's on the rise and been in the game?
Definitely a tough fight. And styles make fights, and you have your striker. I mean, this is throwback, right? Striker versus grappler, wrestler, whatever you want to call Brock. I mean, a beast right now. So I know he's older. I know he's been out for a while, but the truth is he's one of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division. I mean, obviously, automatically when he comes back. I mean, as far as pure wrestling pedigree, as far as being able to take the fight to the floor over most people. I mean, let's not forget, he took Cain Velasquez down. It was brief. I mean, Cain got back to his feet, but that's the kind of ability that Brock Lesnar has. I know he struggled with Overeem, and people could make a case for – I mean, you can argue this fight so many different ways. But I think – obviously, we know what Brock's going to do here. He's going to want to get this fight to the ground, and that's how he has a way to win this fight. I think he has brutal ground and pound. He can pound his way to a victory possibly on the ground. Hunt's a tough guy, though. I mean, look what Stipe did to him. He didn't want to give up in that fight. Stipe beat him up for 5 rounds, you know what I mean? So Hunt is a tough guy to finish, even on the ground. But I think Brock is such a beast, he can get the job done there possibly, or even win by submission. I mean, he has the arm triangle, as he showed in the past, in his arsenal a little bit on the ground. A lot of people would still probably have some success going for a Kimura against Hunt. I mean, that's the way he's been finished several times, and Brock has that power to go along with some of that technique that he could probably get the job done there. But if he cannot get the takedown, he is going to sleep. I mean, Hunt is such a devastating striker. A lot of people are saying also that Brock doesn't like to be hit. Let's face it, who likes to be hit out there? I mean, I'm sure a lot of fighters don't enjoy getting blasted. So, yes, I understand what they're saying. Sometimes when he does get tagged a little bit, he becomes a different fighter. And if that happens, Hunt tags him, of course, it's going to be, lights out. So it's a tough fight. Right now, actually, according to the odds, it is Mark Hunt coming in as a favorite. People are betting him a little bit more. He's minus 170, and Lesnar is plus 150. But this line got bet up, and it got bet back down as well. So there's been a heavy two-way action on this fight, and a lot of split opinions out there. But it seems like the majority of the MMA fans are banking on Hunt being able to sprawl and brawl and knock Lesnar out. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though. I'm honestly on the fence a little bit. I lean a little bit more towards Lesnar to get the takedown because I think he realistically could.
Yeah, Lesnar absolutely is going to get him down to the ground. Question is, he get him down to the ground in a position where he's able to hold him and do some ground and pound on him? Or is he get him down to the ground where it's kind of sloppy, slipping, he kind of gets in a little bit and Hunt pushes off and gets back to his feet? Yeah, great as a takedown, but it doesn't score any points for the judges, doesn't score anything. It's just a fan rush of, oh, hey, you got him down to the ground. But unless you do something with that, it's not going to score any points. And at that point, if Mark can get back up to his feet faster than Lesnar can, all of a sudden now Brock's getting tagged in the head as he's coming up. And we all know, yes, you're right, fighters don't like to get hit. That's apparent. But Lesnar has a different reaction to it than most people do. He almost runs away when he gets hit. And when you get hit by a guy like Hunt, and if you have any kind of opening, he can knock you completely unconscious. If you start to run away, he's great at chasing. If you watch all of Mark Hunt's old K1 fights, if he hits a guy and a guy takes a half step back to kind of get away or sees he's rung a little bit and tries to protect himself, Hunt has a great job of taking 2 steps in, kicking the legs up from underneath him so they can't run, and then coming up top and hooking to the head. And he puts guys down quick. But I agree. If Lesnar gets this thing down in any type of good position, he's going to smash him. He's just going to smash him. He's just too big of a man to deal with. Like he's such a large individual. Money-wise, where are you going to put your own income?
Dog or pass. And I hate to kind of say it a little bit here because he has been out for so long. He's not getting any younger. But as you just said, you do think he's going to get the takedown, as do I. I think he does get the takedown. Hopefully he can hold him down. I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, if Hunt scrambles back up to the feet, it's probably over for – I mean, I think all it's going to take is one scramble back up to the feet and Hunt will probably finish the job. So it has to be Brock getting Hunt down early and being very effective in picking his spots carefully and unloading some serious damage or going for that submission to win this fight. So I think there is a shot of that. Obviously, the UFC matched this fight also for a reason. I know it's a fight that the fans want to see, but it is a winnable fight for Brock Lesnar. I mean, stylistically, he matches up pretty well. Even though he could get knocked out, he could also win this fight. So, and I think the UFC's banking on him possibly doing that. We'll see. I mean, Hunt is definitely a talented fighter. I have a ton of respect for him, but I lean a little bit more towards Lesnar in this fight.
All right, moving on to the main event. Finally, the rematch. Cormier has been injured, got uninjured. Jones is the interim champ right at this point. Is that what's going on with this? And now we got Cormier as the champ, and now we have to unify the belts, but you're really not unifying the belts. You're really just getting rid of one belt and making it one belt. It's just this whole situation is always screwing me up. Like you never can tell what's going on with these guys. But let's be honest. People are still saying Jon Jones is pound for pound the best fighter in the world, even though he is the challenger at this point. He's not the champ. He didn't get beat. For those who don't know, he didn't lose the belt. He got in some legal troubles and got the belt suspended and taken away from him. So he didn't actually get physically beat and lose it in the match. He lost because of his legal issues outside of the cage. So undefeated still as far as that goes. Only has one loss on his record, and that was a controversial loss to Matt Hamill due to an illegal elbow. They did 12-6 elbow, the ceiling to the ground elbow, and got disqualified. Cormier has one loss on his record, and that happens to be to Jon Jones. So now we're talking about getting this fight going, but this time Cormier is the champ as opposed to being the challenger the last time. But the last time the fight went, Cormier got completely outclassed in every single position. Got taken down at will at the end, and as it got later into the fight, was getting elbowed from every position, kicked, kneed, punched, and getting out positioned in every position. He was behind the entire time. Do you see it being that much of a different fight this time around?
I think it'll probably be a little bit more clear for Jones this time around. It'll be similar, but I think the first time it was pretty competitive, especially early on in that fight. I mean, it was more competitive early, and then Jones I think started kind of pulling away as it went. But I think it'll be competitive. I mean, Cormier is a super talented, obviously heavyweight, former heavyweight. I mean, he was a title contender in the heavyweight division, and obviously light heavyweight. If it wasn't for Jones, I mean, he would be the reigning champ for a while. You know what I mean? I think that's how good the guy is. So will he give Jones a fight? Probably. I think he's got a little bit more confidence right now leading up to it, especially after seeing his performance against OSP. I don't think it was that bad. A lot of people are just burying Jones a little bit because of that. They're thinking, oh, he doesn't have it anymore. I think he shook a little bit of rust off. He's going to come in even more motivated for this fight against Cormier and probably get his strap back, officially, clear the undisputed champion type of situation. So I do think he is the better fighter. I think Cormier is going to put up a fight, but I think it is probably going to be a little bit cleaner and more decisive than it was the first time. Because to me, the first fight was fairly competitive. The line right now is actually Jon Jones minus 300 and Cormier is at plus 250. So 3-1 for Jones. I opened at 3-1. It dipped down a little bit. There was Cormier action coming in. Now there's parlay action, some straight bets coming back in on Jones a little bit. So another spot where there's two-way action. And there's going to be a lot of heavy two-way action in this fight as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of people coming in late on this one too. I also want to see what happens at weigh-ins because we've seen the photos of Jon Jones. And he was mammoth in these photos and how big he actually is. And almost to the point where he should be going up to heavyweight if these photos – it's all angle and lighting and all those other things that go on with it. Is he really that big or what's happening? Once he gets on the scale, what's it look like when he gets on the scale? That's the question now. And especially with the new regulations that are coming in for dehydration and checking, dehydration sampling before and after you make weight could change in how Jones is going to react when he comes in. So he might even be smaller than what we saw in the photos. He had to lose a little bit of weight during training camp. We don't know this until he actually gets on the scales Friday night. Super interested in this fight. Want to see how Cormier can handle it. Cormier and Vasquez had this very long interview they did where they actually were like, I don't want to say we're old, but the more experienced guys have got to start changing how we train. And we've all seen Dana White go after him. He's gone after AKA, talking about how much they spar too hard, they go too hard. There's a reason why not only Daniel, but also Vasquez was pulled out of several fights because they both were hurt. Now they said to revamp how they're training. Is that going to help? Is that going to hurt? When I interviewed Daniel before the last time that these two fought, he was like, I left everything in the training room. I left everything out in the practice room. I had nothing left for me in the fights. When we got into that middle of the second round, he goes, I was falling apart at that point. I knew I couldn't catch him just because I spent so much energy trying to prepare for the fight and didn't rest properly. Hopefully now we rested properly, and this fight's going to be a little more competitive. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning yet. I'm having a real hard time taking either side because of Jones shook off a little bit of ring rust the last time he fought with OSP, but he didn't look great doing it. There wasn't any of that old part of him you saw during that fight. You're like, oh, wow, there's that flash of brilliance. It was just kind of like, hum. Okay, what's going on? What's happening? Of course, the rumors abound about him being done and him not being able to handle it anymore. But obviously, he can handle it because the trash talking is epic. Obviously, he can handle it because he's up for every media session, every open workout. He's there and in good form. So I can't wait for this fight to come together. You're saying Jones is where your bet's going to go, or is this a dog or pass?
It's hard at 300, honestly, or over. But if you do get, there was a spot out there earlier in the week that was minus 250-ish. I think when it gets to that point, yeah. If it's under 300 and it's like 2.5 to 1, yeah, I would lay some juice on John Jones because I think there is value on that price. Over 3 to 1, again, I know it's not too far off, but still, that's where the point where you start thinking about it and saying, okay, is there a lot of value left? Because again, Cormier, you got to respect the guy as well. So where it's at right now, if you get under 3 to 1, maybe take a small stab. If you get over 3 to 1, I would just probably pass, let it go, and enjoy the fight. Honestly. Now we do have to mention one more fight. The title fight, another title fight on here, Aldo and Edgar. They're obviously they're fighting for the interim title as well. Conor McGregor being the champion. A lot of us think he's probably not ever going to come back down to 145. So this is probably for the real belt, honestly. So that's an interesting fight. We just got to give those guys a little bit of respect. So I figure we mentioned that as well. So this card is stacked, man. They did a good job. The pay-per-view portion is tremendous.
Let's not forget about Hendricks and Gaslam's coming back on. Dillashaw and Asensio is on the early prelims. And Zingano and Pena are on the prelims. Like these are great fights. On the early prelims, which are on Fight Pass, you have Mousasi and Santos, Miller and Gomi. That's your at home on Fight Pass show. Is with these guys fighting. It's crazy. And then Sanchez and Lozon finalizes out the 3 early prelim fights. This is prelims. It's incredible. These great fighters are down on the prelims. Three belts are on the line. 3 of them. And in the middle of that, all of a sudden you have the biggest pay-per-view buy that the UFC's ever had. Brock Lesnar stabs himself in the co-main event. If you're not excited for all of these fights, every single fight from the very beginning to the very end, you're a complete idiot and go watch something else. Because this card, they said, we all make fun of Dana. We all said it. He said at one point, like 2 years ago, I want to do 100 fights in a year. I want to have, 3 fights happening on 3 different continents in one night. When we all laughed at him until all of a sudden he was like, ooh, a fight in America and a fight in Australia at the same time. A fight in England and a fight in America at the same time. Like, he's actually doing this. It's actually happening. These things are actually going on. He said this fight was going to be the best card that the UFC's ever put on. And I got to say, you can go fight for fight and kind of pick other fights a little bit better in the past, whatever. But this is a whole card, top to bottom. Absolutely incredible. It's got the old heads in there with Gomi and Miller and Sanchez, the folks that have been watching the fight forever. All the new guys with Lesnar, Hunt, and Cormier and Jones, and all the guys that kind of dip in and dip out depending on who's fighting or whatever. Are all going to pay attention, especially now that you know that McGregor more than likely is not going to go back down to the weight, and you got Aldo Edgar battling it out. And Edgar thinks he can, obviously thinks he's got another title run in him. This is an amazing card all the way around.
Yeah, I totally agree. They really did do a great job putting it together, and you know what? And keeping it together overall, it hasn't been that bad, right? There hasn't been a ton of drop off, so pretty good job. A lot of hard work. The company's fight week's got to be a killer, so you got to take your hat off to them. I know we give them a lot of everybody, the fans overall. We give them a lot of slack a lot of times. We get on their case, but overall, they're doing a pretty good job.
They're doing a great job this week, that's for sure.
Yep.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see how everything plays out. I'll be at home watching on TV. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm excited.
Well, that's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. This was Before the Bell here on MMA Oddsbreaker, and we'll see you next time.